Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Kitchen Design webinar. My name is Nick, and I will be doing the presentation with you today. Just like all of our previous webinars, everybody will be on mute. So if you do happen to have any questions during our presentation, please feel free to go ahead and type those into the questions and answers area. And at the end of the class, I will go through and answer any questions that may have come up. Also, at the end of the class, I will be sending out an email that will contain a document that contains everything that we're going to be looking at in today's class. Should you happen to have any questions while going through that document, you can contact our support department and they will be happy to help you out. Again, today's class is on kitchen design, and my name is Nick. So Envisioneer offers many great tools that make designing a kitchen space quick and easy, and the design possibilities are endless. You can have the kitchen builder wizard build a complete kitchen for you automatically, or you can also insert individual cabinets, appliances, and fixtures to complete a custom kitchen design. In today's class, we're going to be looking at how to add in cabinets using the kitchen builder wizard. We're also going to be looking at how to add in cabinets individually using the catalog. We're also going to be looking at how to customize inserted cabinets to create a different style. And then we're also going to be looking at how to insert custom kitchen elements. So first, let's talk about the Kitchen Builder Wizard. The Kitchen Builder Wizard steps you through a series of screens that enable you to choose the style of kitchen, the orientation of the appliances, and the finish of the cabinetry and counter. It then arranges all the necessary components together so that all you have to do is point and click to insert your kitchen. We're going to use the Kitchen Builder Wizard to design the basic shape of our kitchen, which is going to be a U shape. The kitchen is going to run across these three walls in our design. So we're going to go up, and if you like to use the menu option, you can go to Insert, Design Wizards, and you can select the Kitchen Builder option. If you like to use the buttons, you can, under the Building tab, you can select the drop-down button beside the Design Wizards, and you can select Kitchen Builder. This will open up and launch the Kitchen Builder Wizard dialog box. And the first screen you're going to see is just a welcome screen, letting you know that you've selected the Kitchen Builder Wizard. We're going to select Next. Next, we get to choose the general kitchen style. So what type of kitchen are you looking to create? An L shape, a galley, or a U shape? We've already determined that we want to create a U-shaped kitchen. So we're going to select U-shape, and then we're going to select Next. Next, we have the general kitchen layout. So this is how you want your appliances to be oriented, also known as the kitchen triangle. Here we want to make sure that we have the appliances oriented the way that we want. In our design, we're going to insert a window on this wall down here. So I will want my sink on this wall itself. I also want my stove to be over here and my fridge to be over here. So when I rotate this kitchen around, this is the layout that I want to be using. So I'm going to use this option here, and I'm going to select Next. Now I get to choose the general kitchen theme. So what style of cabinet do I want to use in my design? In the catalog, we have a predefined list of Kitchen Builder Wizard cabinets already set up for you. So you can use any one of these options to create your kitchen layout. Pardon me. I like to go in the preview, I like to right click and select Rendered Outline. This will just give me a better idea of what the kitchen cabinets look like. So here we can see that we are using a gray recessed panel. We also have a natural cherry look. We have a European walnut, which will be a flat panel. Same with the European white, which is also a flat panel. We then have three different styles that are actual image files applied to a flat panel cabinet. So these don't actually show any kind of geometry. It is just an image file mapped to our kitchen. I'm going to use the gray recess panel as our kitchen style, and I'm going to say next. Once I select next, it is then going to ask me, how do I want this kitchen to be rotated? So again, I want to make sure that my sink is on this wall, my stove is on this wall, and my fridge is on this wall. So according to that, this is the option that I need to select. I'm then going to select next, and then I can select finish. Now attached to my cursor, I will see a chalk outline of where the kitchen can be inserted. And I'm just going to move my mouse into this lower left-hand corner. And since I have collision turned on, it's going to automatically snap to that corner. I'm going to left click once to start the kitchen. And now I can actually use my snap tracking tool and I can position this exactly where I want. So I want the kitchen to stop at this corner, but I want it to match all the way across. So I'm going to come across to this side and I'm just going to place that cabinet or that kitchen up against this wall. And then I can left click to insert it. I will then get a dialog asking me, are you satisfied with the placement of the kitchen? If not, you can click no. That will allow you to reposition it, or you can click yes to insert it. We're going to click yes to insert our kitchen. We can now see that our cabinets are all added in. We can see our appliances are also inserted into our design. Next, we're going to be looking at how to insert individual cabinets. Individual cabinets can be inserted into any portion of your model. The catalog has a full selection, but you can also create and customize cabinets to suit your design needs. Islands are inserted as individual cabinets. So we're going to insert an island into our design. When inserting a kitchen island, it is recommended that you leave at least 36 to 42 inches between the island and the bank of cabinets to ensure there is a good working aisle. You can insert temporary guidelines to help you place the island the correct distance away from the cabinets. So wherever you're going to have an appliance that has a door that opens, you're going to want to leave at least 42 inches of space. Where you have just a working aisle where you don't have to worry about any kind of appliance door opening, you can use a 36-inch space. So on the left and the right side, we have two appliances that have opening doors. So these two sides are going to be 42 inches. Along our bottom bank of cabinets, we don't have anything that opens, so we're going to use a 36-inch spacing. So I'm going to use the line command to draw in lines to create my outline of where I want my cabinets to go. I like to use lines because they're pretty quick and pretty easy to insert. You can also use dimension lines if you want to. I'm going to simply press L on my keyboard to activate the line command. I'm going to snap to the first corner of that cabinet, and I'm going to move my mouse to the right. The commander at the bottom of the screen will highlight in blue, letting me know what the current distance is and the direction. I want to be moving to the right, so that's going to be in the 0 direction, but I want that to be 42 inches because again, I have an opening door on my stove. I type in 42 and I hit enter. That will add in the first line. Now, when I draw in my lines, I always go to the extremes, so I always go right to the outside. This will just make sure it's very easy for me to select the line when I need to get rid of it. Now that I have that line added in, I can right click and I can select repeat. I now need to add in another line for my cabinetry. And in this case, I'm going to use this point here, and I'm going to move my mouse to the left. And then I'm just going to click anywhere. I'm not too worried about the distance on this side. I'm using this to create the 36-inch spacing for that bank of cabinets. And then I'm going to bring my mouse all the way across. This creates an intersection for me. I'm going to right click once again. I'm going to select repeat. And then I'm going to select the edge of this cabinet and I'm going to move over and I'm going to type in 42 inches and I'm going to bring that line all the way down. So I've created two separate points, which will allow me to snap to either one of these to create my kitchen island. Now that I have the guidelines added in, I can now start to add in my kitchen cabinets. So I'm going to go up, and if you like to use the menu tab, you're going to select Insert, Interiors, and you're going to select Cabinets. If you like to use the tabs and the buttons, you're going to select under the Interiors tab, you're going to select the Cabinets button. On the right-hand side, the catalog will now populate with all the different kitchen cabinets or cabinets available in the program. We're going to be adding in some base cabinets to create our island. So in the catalog panel, we're going to open up the kitchen base cabinets folder. So we're going to go up to kitchen base cabinets, and under the kitchen base cabinets, we're going to select base island cabinets. This will open up the folder for us, and we can see that there are two different styles in here. And we're going to select, we can open either the double door or the double door and drawer. We're going to use the door and drawer option. And then we're just going to grab one of the cabinets from within here. So you can select the cabinet that you want to insert. Just keep in mind that you can insert two or more cabinets side by side to create your island. Their countertops will always merge together based on their properties. So we're going to position our first cabinet so that the corner of it sits at the intersection that we've created. So I'm going to grab this 24-inch double door, double door, and we're going to grab the 24-inch double door, and we're going to bring that in, and we're going to snap it to this bottom corner. Don't worry about where the placement is. We can rotate our cabinet around, and we can move it around to wherever we need it to go. So once a cabinet is inserted, it is very easily able to be edited and moved. So I can simply right-click and select Move, and I could say I want to move it from that point to there. Now that I have that cabinet added in, I can duplicate this cabinet so that it goes all the way across my screen, or I can simply add in different cabinets to place them up against my original cabinet. So I can, select this cabinet, and I can say duplicate, and I can duplicate it as many times as I need to. So I can just select duplicate, duplicate, and I can duplicate this cabinet all the way across my design to create the design space that I'm looking for. Now, the cabinets themselves will merge together. In some cases, you will need to adjust the actual positioning. The move command will sometimes need to be adjusted. So I can select one of the cabinets and I can move it into place. When I duplicate, it does adjust the positioning, so it will throw that line back in some cases. Now, the countertops themselves are merging together because of a command inside of the properties. So if I select the cabinet and I go into its properties, pardon me, we can see down in the 2D representation that we have a display left edge and a display right edge. And these two options are set to auto. What this means is whenever I insert a cabinet, it's going to automatically show the edges of the cabinet for me. So I'm going to see the left and the right edge. However, if I bring another cabinet up to it, it is going to automatically remove that line for me. So that way the counters merge together. So depending on how you want your designs to look, if you want to show all of the individual cabinets, then you're going to want to make sure that you have the display left edge and display right edge set to on. That way, the edges will always show up and you'll always be able to see how many actual cabinets you have inserted. If you like to see the nice clean look where you're not seeing all the individual cabinets, then you would have yours set to auto. I'm just going to click cancel on that because I don't need to make any changes. And once you have all of your cabinets added in, we can now start to remove all of those dimension lines or all of those drafting lines that we added in. So you can simply select them and then just press delete on your keyboard. Again, I added in a couple extra lines just to make it easy for me to be able to select them so that I can easily grab them and delete them out. Next, we're going to look at customizing our cabinets. If you don't want some of the cabinets that the kitchen builder inserts, you can select individual cabinets and you can delete them out. You can also move cabinets to make room for other items you want to add into your kitchen. For example, we're going to remove the cabinetry over the sink to accommodate a window. So we're going to left click on one of the upper cabinets, and then we're going to hold our shift key down on our keyboard, and we're going to select the other three cabinets or the other two cabinets to remove those three from our design. So with those three cabinets selected, we're just going to simply press delete on our keyboard. We've now removed those three cabinets from our design. We're then going to click on the upper cabinet on one side of the sink, and then we're going to hold our shift key down, and we're going to select the cabinet on the other side of the sink. We're just going to select these two options, or these two cabinets right here. So again, select one, hold my shift key down to multiple select, and select the other cabinet. We're going to right click, and we're going to go into the properties of this cabinet. So in the cabinets dialog on the basic tab, we're going to change the cabinet height to be 4 foot 8 inches. This will give the cabinets the proper height to sit on the counter and join up with the lower cabinets. So we're going to go in and we're going to select the height to be 4 foot 8 inches. That will increase the height of our cabinet. Next, we're going to go into the Leaf tab. And on the Leaf tab, here you can change the look of the cabinet front. So right now we're looking at a recessed panel. We're going to scroll over in the type area and we're going to select the glass 2 option. And actually, I'm going to select glass 1. We're going to keep the top as a square top just to keep it consistent with our other cabinets. Now we're looking at our cabinetry with a glass front. We can control a lot of different things here. So right now we're looking at our cabinet and it's showing us 3 vertical panels and 2 horizontal panels. I actually want this to be 4 vertical panels. We're going to add that in. And then on the details tab, I can control how many shelving units I have in here as well. So you can adjust the amount of shelves that you want in your design, again, to match what you need to create. So I'm going to add in 2 shelves. You can also change the hardware. You can adjust it so that it's using a different style of hardware. You can also adjust where the hardware sits in relation to the actual bottom of the door. So right now it's sitting 3 inches off of the bottom of the door. Next, we're going to go into the Behavior tab. And in the Behavior tab, this is the value that determines where the base of the cabinet sits relative to the floor. Since we want our cabinet to sit on top of our countertops, we will need to decrease the value to lower them down. So right now it's sitting at the 7 foot height. I'm going to keep it at the 7 foot height and we'll adjust it accordingly. I want to see exactly where this is going to sit. So we're going to say, and we're also going to adjust this to be a 4 foot 8 inch. Sorry, that is 18 inches. And this is going to be 4 foot 8 inches instead of 30 inches. We're going to go 4 foot 8 inches. And then we're going to say, okay. If I go into a camera view, we should be able to see where those cabinets are now sitting. So right now, I've added in a value to that cabinet. So I need to make adjustments to it. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to select both of these, right click and properties. And on the Behavior tab, I can see here that it is now set to 9 foot 2. So I'm going to make that 7 feet and we're going to say okay. And we can see that it now drops it down into our cabinetry. So I do need to elevate this back up. So we're going to go back in. We're going to go back into properties. And under behavior, we're going to say 7 foot 8 inches. And we'll say OK. That now brings that cabinet up to sit on top of our cabinetry. So we can now see, and I'm going to turn this into a rendered outline view, just so you can see it a bit clearer. And we can now see those cabinets sitting on top of our countertop. You're also going to notice while we're in this view that there are a couple of cabinets that were not set to a size that Envisioneer could use based off of the kitchen builder wizard. So it creates an automatic filler and it just fills in that void for us. So we can do a couple of things here. We can simply go in and select these cabinets and we can delete them out, or we can adjust the actual style. So instead of making them and deleting them out, I'm going to go into their actual properties. And instead of being a spacer, I'm going to say I want it to be just a single door type. And on the leaf, I'm going to change it to be an actual panel. And it's going to use the same properties as the rest of the cabinetry. And I'm just going to say OK. So now it's created a new cabinet for me, showing the correct panel fronts by just adjusting the properties. So again, in the properties of these cabinets, I knew the rails were 2 inches because that's what the default value is. So if I look at a leaf, the spacing of the rails and stiles is 2 inches. So again, I just went through and selected each of these cabinets, went into their properties, and under leaf, I turned it into a recessed panel and gave it a 2-inch rail and stile depth or width. Now those are finished for me and I can see my uppers look like the way I would expect them to look. Now we're going to be looking at inserting custom kitchen elements. So once a kitchen has been built by the wizard, you can add custom elements and touches to it. For example, you can add a wood panel on the outside of the refrigerator for a nice clean and customized look, or you can create a custom countertop. We will use the member tool to apply a wood panel to the side of the refrigerator that is exposed to the rest of the kitchen. The member tool is very flexible. You can use it for custom backsplashes, filler pieces, and cabinetry, full columns, anything that you can imagine. You can define the height and the width you want and apply any material to it. I typically use the member tool for any kind of crown molding around the top of my cabinetry. For things like the fridge panel, I would use a column, which is very similar to the member tool. But first I need to add in a, I need to add in an upper cabinet above my refrigerator. So we're going to go back into our cabinets and we're going to go up to kitchen wall cabinets upper, and we can see that we have the double door option, and we can see we have a couple of different heights. And I'm just going to select the, we'll do the 12-inch height for now, and we're going to use a 36-inch upper cabinet. And I'm just going to place that in so that it sits above my refrigerator. I can go into the actual properties. So if I want to be able to easily access this cabinet, I can make it a little bit deeper. So I can go into the properties and say, I actually want this to be, instead of a 1 foot depth, I want it to be a 1 foot 6-inch depth, or I want it to be a 2 foot depth. Whatever depth you want that to be, you can adjust the properties and its position so that it sits exactly where you want. And again, all this is doing is it's just adding that cabinet in for us so we can see where it sits in relation to our design. Now, all of our other cabinets, when I go into their properties and I look at the behavior, they're sitting at 7 feet high. This one looks to be a bit higher, so we're going to elevate this guy down and we're going to make sure that it is 7 feet as well. So we've now added in our upper cabinet above our refrigerator. And now we're going to look at finishing this off with a nice finished look on the outside of our panel. So we're going to add in a panel on this side of the refrigerator. So we're going to go back into 2D. And this time we're going to go in and we're going to select the columns option. So we're going to select building and you're going to select columns. Now in our custom option, we are going to be able to add in a couple of different features in here. So right now we have a fridge panel in here already. So I'm going to delete that guy out and we're going to create a new one. So I'm going to go in and say right click and I'm going to select add elements. I'm going to use the columns and I'm going to say okay. Now I'm going to give this a name and I'm going to call this fridge panel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making adjustments to this actual panel. So on this fridge panel, I want to change the actual thickness and I want this to be, we're going to say 1/2 inch. I want the actual depth to be 1 foot 6 inches. Because again, I want this to sit so that's in relation to my upper cabinet, and our upper cabinet was 1 foot 6 inches. We're then going to say, okay. So now we have our new fridge panel, and we can place that into our drawing. I like to place it and then move it around and adjust the fine tuning of it in the design itself. So when I take a look at this, I can see where it's sitting. I can go into its properties and I can adjust the actual height. And this should be 7 feet. Now I can see that that fridge panel is now on the outside of my fridge, and it just helps clean that up and it gives the refrigerator an area to sit inside. Like the column tool and like the member tool, the surface tool is also very flexible. You can use it for sloped driveways, roof surfaces, ceiling surfaces, countertops, and more. Where the member tool is great for any kind of a vertical element, the surface tool is ideal for any kind of a horizontal element that's going to lie flat. We will use the surface tool to add a custom breakfast bar to our island. So we're going to go back into 2D plan view, and we're going to add in a custom breakfast bar right here. So the cabinets that we added in were actually double faced cabinets. So they actually have a face on both sides. You can change that out. So if you wanted to, you could replace these with just basic base cabinets so that they would sit on a wall, and then you can actually add a wall in. So we're going to select each of these, and we're going to go right click, and we're just going to go replace. And we're going to replace these with just a double door. We're going to do double door with drawer, and we're just going to change it to be the double door with drawer base cabinet. So we've now just adjusted the cabinets themselves. I do need to rotate these around because they are going in the wrong direction. So we're just going to rotate them around so that the back of the cabinet is sitting where we want. So we're just going to move these guys around here for a second, just so that I can rotate. Since I have collision turned on, it's kind of messing around with it. So we're going to move these guys around, flip the rotation, so that the back of the cabinet sits where I want to add in my wall. And then I can add a wall in. And I'm just going to grab a wall. I'm going to grab a 2x4 interior wall, and I'm just going to drop a wall in right here. I'm going to move that wall so that it sits up against that edge. And I'm just going to use my nudge distance just to move that out an inch. I'm going to move this edge again so that the edge of the wall sits right here. And then I'm just going to lengthen it. So I'm going to right click, lengthen. And I'm just going to go out 1/2 inch. I've already got it 1/2 inch out because of the drywall. So I just want that to sit out an actual inch on each side. I also need to adjust the properties of this wall so that it sits at the height that I want my breakfast bar to sit at. So under top and bottom, I'm going to change the height to be 3 foot 6 inches. And then we're going to say, okay. So all I've essentially done in this design is I've taken the base island cabinets out. I've added in base cabinets. I've now moved them to sit up against a knee wall. And now I have somewhere to add in my countertop. So now I'm going to select surfaces. And again, if you like to use the menu, you're going to go to Insert, Surfaces, Surfaces. Or if you like to use the buttons under the building tab, you're going to select under surfaces or beside surfaces, you're going to select the drop down and you're going to select surfaces. In the catalog, you will have a custom folder. If you don't, you can right click and you can create your own custom folder using the custom, adding in a group. And in that grouping option, you can go in and you can create, and I'll add in a new group so you can see. So we're going to right click and we're going to go to Element Manager. In the Element Manager, we're going to be able to access all of the elements in the catalog. We're also able to edit and create new entries as well. So I'm going to create a new folder under Surfaces. So I'm going to select Surfaces, right click, Add Group. And I'm going to call this custom 2. So if you want to create a new folder, you can do that by doing this. We're just going to call this one custom 2. And then in the custom 2 folder, I'm going to add in a new element. And in here, I'm going to use this as a ceiling. You can do floor or ceiling. Either one is fine. I'm just going to say it's going to be a ceiling. So I want it to be flat. And I'm going to give it the thickness that I want this countertop to use. And I'm going to say 1 inch thick. I'm going to change the name and I'm just going to call this countertop. And under the appearance, I'm going to select surface and then I'm going to hold my shift key down. I'm going to select everything all the way down to soffit. And then I'm going to change the material and I'm going to make it use a material that I want for my counters. And in this case, we're going to use the countertops hard surface. And I want this to use the Carrara marble that we see at the very bottom of the list. And then we're just going to say OK. So now we've created a new countertop using the Carrara marble, and we're going to say OK. I also want to adjust the line work because I don't want it to be roof elevation. So I'm going to highlight everything, and I'm going to change that to B so that it uses countertop. And then we're going to say OK. And then on the layer, so if we do add a hatch, what layer do you want the hatch to be? We shouldn't be adding a hatch to it, but just in case, I'm going to also make sure that the hatch is also using the countertop hatch. Sorry, the countertop line style for the hatch. And then I'm going to say OK. So now I've created a whole new folder called custom, and I'm going to be able to select that new element that I've created in that folder. So I can select countertop. I'm going to bring my mouse into my drawing area, and I'm just going to simply select the points of where I want that countertop to go. And now I can move my cursor, type in a distance. Let's bring this guy out 2 feet. And we'll bring our cursor back all the way across, and we will use that as our reference point. And we've now added in our surface. Now we can determine where the height of that surface needs to sit. So if you remember, I made sure that the wall was 3 foot 6 inches high, but I gave the actual countertop a thickness of 1 inch. So the top of that surface should be flat. So we're going to make sure that its slope is 0. And we're going to say it should be 3 foot 7 inches high. And then we can say OK. And what we're going to see now is a countertop that sits on top of that wall. And I can fine tune that. I can make little fine tune adjustments. I can take the edge and I can move it so that it sits 1 inch out. So I can go right click, move edge. So I get a bit of an overhang, and I can say edit undo. move edge, specify my base point and go 1 inch. And I can do the same on this side, move edge, left click, 1 inch. I can also edit the edges. So if I want it to be a curved edge, I can give it a little bit of a curve so we can create a more curved countertop look. You can edit that however you feel you need to for your designs. And again, when you look at that in 3D, you're going to see all of the different elements that we've added in, and you can render out your scene to show how that design is taking shape. So that covers everything that I wanted to talk about in relation to kitchen design. So I am going to go ahead and open up the questions and answers section. So if you do happen to have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and type those in. While I wait for questions, I am going to just go over a quick review of what we've covered in today's class. So Envisioneer provides a number of building and editing tools to help you create virtually any kitchen design. The Kitchen Builder Wizard builds a complete kitchen for you automatically based on settings that you define. You can edit the individual components to suit your design needs. You can use the cabinet tool to insert individual cabinets wherever needed, and you can also simply select the cabinet that's been inserted and replace it with any other cabinet that you need. Each individual cabinet can be customized, moved, or deleted. Use the member tool to create any kind of a custom vertical or any kind of horizontal element that you want to create. And you can also use columns to create any kind of a vertical element. And you can use the surfaces tool to create any kind of a flat element in your design. So one question that I do get, and what I would like to show, is the member tool to create a custom crown molding above our cabinetry. So you can select a member, and you can select any member that you would like to. So I'm just going to grab a 2x2, and I'm going to bring it into my drawing area. Now I'm just going to insert the member to start, and what we're going to do is we're going to modify it. So right now, when I go into its properties, I can see that it is just a 2x2 piece of lumber. If I go into the details, I can see that the reference point is to the top of the member. Since I'm going to be using this for a crown molding, I actually want the reference point to be the bottom of the trim. So that way I know that I need to elevate this exactly 7 feet high so that it sits at the top of our cabinets. So we're going to make sure that that is set to the bottom of the piece of trim. On the basic tab, I don't want that to be a rectangular solid. I actually want to use a custom profile. So I'm going to scroll all the way to the end, and I'm going to select custom. And then I'm going to go down and I'm going to select the select profile button. This is going to be like a crown molding. So I'm going to select the crown profiles, and then I'm going to select the crown molding that best represents the style that I want for my crown. And I'm going to use crown 3. And I'm going to say OK. Now I can define the actual size. So I'm going to uncheck uniform scale. And I want this to be, we're going to say 2 inches. And we're going to say I want it to be just 3 inches high. I also want this to match my my cabinet color. So for right now, I'm going to call this cabinet crown. And I'm going to check and see what the actual material is of my cabinetry. So if I go into the properties, under appearance, I can see that my cabinetry is using Stonington gray. So I can say OK. And I can go into my 3D view, and I can do a couple of different things. So right now I can see the preview of what that looks like. I need to elevate this guy up 7 feet, and I can say apply and then OK. I can go into the properties and I can apply a material using the appearance tab, or I can very quickly in a 3D view select my materials paintbrush, say, well, I know what material I want. I want it to match my countertop or my cabinet, sorry. So I'm going to use my eyedropper and I'm going to say, I want to use whatever this is. It will find it for me. And now I can just apply it to my piece of lumber. I'm going to right click and select finish. I'm going to go back into 2D, and in the properties, I'm going to make a couple of adjustments. On the details tab, I did adjust it so that the reference point was set to bottom, but I also want to make sure that it miters at any corner. So I want to make sure that the miter, if possible, is selected, and then I'm going to say OK. I'm also going to rotate this piece of trim around, and then I'm going to move it into place. And we're going to position this so that it sits right on top of that cabinet. I'm then going to duplicate, and I'm going to rotate, and I'm going to move it into place. So I would be able to do this for my member all the way around the design, placing it wherever I want this to sit. When I bring these two together and they snap together, they will miter. So I'm now getting a nice mitered corner. And I would simply just take this and I would wrap it all the way around my design. And what you're going to get is a piece of crown molding that sits on top of your cabinets like so. So you're going to be very easily able to create crown molding that sits in your design. If this is the type of crown molding that you're going to use most typically in your designs, then you'd want to make sure that you save this to your catalog as a custom member, so that way you can very easily use it. You don't have to keep recreating it in all of your designs. So I'm going to pause here for just a moment to see if there's any questions about anything that we've covered. Again, I will be sending out an email that contains a document that covers everything that we've talked about. So you can go ahead and you can try this out on your own. Should you happen to have any questions while doing this on your own, you can contact our support department. They will be happy to help you out with any questions you may have. Perfect. Well, there doesn't appear to be any questions at this point, so I do want to thank everybody for attending today's class. I do look forward to speaking with you all again very soon. Thank you very much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.